I know some like love survival skills, and this is one of them. I I gave I gave Burpo a cologne, and he didn't use all of it, and he wouldn't use it very often. Like really, not often at all. Special occasions, and granted, it did get to be where like I was a special occasion. He'd be done up so fine when I would get there that like we couldn't hang out for a couple of days because he was so worn out. Like I'd show up and he'd be dressed, clean, hair, trim. He had like tidied things up, bought food I liked, flowers every time. Every time. Just truly absurd. Absurd, expensive, outrageous, ostentatious flowers. Flowers, flowers. Just because I was coming. Flowers for me. Flowers for me. One of the last things he said to me was, "You are why I appreciate flowers." And I carry handkerchiefs. I carry handkerchiefs for many, many reasons. And this is one of the reasons, just as much as light bulbs and eyeglasses. Oh, how funny. There's one of those little fuzzes that I always... This, this scares me. This genuinely scares me to see something that in any way resembles mouse feces. I'm frightened right now, actually. I'm working through it, but God, I had a bad time with the mice. I had a bad time with the mice. They ate up my home. They ate up my, I mean, they didn't eat anything that wasn't edible. So, if you have a loved one who was dying before you met them, you can strongly associate a particular scent with that person, and it's ideal if that scent comes in a bottle. And then you can find a porous surface that, you know, makes sense to have with you. Doesn't have to be a handkerchief, but it can be. And spray some of the cologne on the handkerchief. And this is key. Don't spray it on the outside of the handkerchief. Unfold it a bunch. Or even just once. So when smell is one of the tools that you have tools for your tools. You can repair and adjust your tools as needed. There's a big difference between smelling the ghost of a smell and just stuffing it right up in there. I've gotten our names for each other all mixed up. I hardly remember what I called him and what he called me because it was all the same. It was just love stuff. It was just we were both so desperate for everything we said to each other to just be the clearest, boldest declaration of love yet. Which made getting fucked up together really fun. Oh my god. Never in my nowhere on this planet is there a better therapy than just getting brain naked with someone who is desperate to love you. and so, so desperate to be loved. One of the last handwriting samples of his that I have, and he had different handwritings, and this was his special, fancy calligraphy that he had crafted and then had to recraft as his hands fell apart on it. And he would write it so slowly, so laboriously, just so perfectly that sometimes he would make the most comical spelling errors. And some of the errors are special to us. There are certain words that mean something very different to me when they are spelled incorrectly. And it truly is a certain small mind that only knows one way to spell a word. Any word. You know, I will say, Burpo never loved words that put people in boxes. There was just no room in his language for words like, you know, there was no room in his language for slurs, to say the least. I mean, slurs of pretty much any kind. I mean, he was even remarkably well self-informed about things that had been perfectly appropriate at other times in his life. But he also was very hesitant to even say words like lesbian or, you know, just like words that are quickly becoming almost meaningless in the best possible way. Because it just truly did not matter to him. There was never any use of the word human that excluded anyone. I wish I had recorded everything he ever said. Sometimes I feel like there are more molecules left in my lungs than there are memories left in my head. I don't know where they went. One thing I've had to come to terms with in processing, you know, grief, is the unique pain of immersive love, because there are so many things that he did and said that were just astounding, just tremendous, that I barely remember because he did them all the time. All the time. They all just blurred together. Just, you know, the words, the moments, the gifts, the thoughts, he just showered me in affection and like a good, thunderous storm shower. Some of the only he would ever get like truly frustrated with me, because I mean, I get it. I've seen this. I know. But some of the only that he would be meaningfully just like, stop. is when I was being hard to love. And when I was, turning compliments into not compliments. When I was just, being handed love currency and just by way of accepting it, exchanging it into hate currency. He hated that. And he did it all the time. Like, almost literally all of the time he did so many of the things. Because he had given up on himself before he was born. A lot of people did. His own body had. If there was ever a brain to put in a jar, a really good jar, like just like comfortable as shit, just luxurious jar, ornate, maybe just scientifically ornate, but just, if there was anybody who ever deserved to just be okay, he would just for like one day. It was John Richard Burpo. My Anna Amkara and the love of my life. And truly, truly, the life of my love. One other really good use for a handkerchief is strangling your enemies. One time he wrote on a paper plate with a ballpoint pen, "Please make enough noise to wake me." It said, "Please make enough noise to wake me." And then he signed it with a signature he rarely used, like a good one. And he thumbtacked it to the wall. Or maybe I did, I don't know, but that paper plate lived on in thumbtack infamy for a long time because, yeah, baby. Absolutely. Absolutely. Every day. Sometimes I like to think I hear him sliding down the hall. The miracle of living in a thin-walled home with a deaf person. It wasn't always lovely, but I know all of his sounds.